As the mayor of this city, I can tell you that Chicagoans are not calling for a military occupation. They are calling for the same thing that we've been calling for some time, and that's investment.
America, Chicago officials are claiming crime is down while residents are literally afraid to leave their homes, and former police chiefs are demanding National Guard deployment to save lives. The city government says overall crime has declined, but we know they're cooking the books while people get murdered, carjacked, and robbed in broad daylight. But here's what's really sick. Chicago is spending millions of dollars on migrants in police stations and airports while their own residents can't walk the streets safely. And Mayor Brandon Johnson refuses federal help that could actually protect people. Because this isn't about politics, this is about public safety that every Chicago resident deserves, regardless of race or neighborhood. Chicago's government lies are getting everybody killed.
And they're gonna fight me. Like this slob of a governor you have in Illinois, this poor guy got thrown out of his business by his family.
What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story exposes how Chicago's government manipulates crime statistics while refusing federal help that could actually protect residents from violence that's destroying their city. Let me expose how Chicago's government is manipulating crime statistics to hide the reality that residents are living through every single day.
According to Chicago police statistics, murders, robberies, and shootings are all down more than 30% this year.
Chicago police claim homicides are down 30% and shootings are down 30%, with 617 homicides compared to 184 last year. But anyone who lives in Chicago knows these numbers don't match the reality on the streets. When residents tell you that they don't feel safe, but the government says crime is down, somebody's lying.
Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago." You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
Despite the claimed decrease, Chicago still has one of the highest murder rates in the country, and many residents say they don't feel safe in their own neighborhoods. The government wants to celebrate statistical improvements while people are still getting killed at astronomical rates. We've seen this playbook many times before. Cities change how they categorize crimes using different reporting periods or manipulate data collection to make the numbers look better. The residents living through this violence know the truth, and it doesn't match the government's rosy statistics. Let me show you how Chicago is prioritizing migrants over residents' basic safety needs.
This is video from yesterday of undocumented migrants lining up for health insurance, food, and money assistance. The Illinois Department of Human Services says that this program reopened for enrollment on July 1st.
Chicago has spent over $300 million on migrant services, housing thousands in police stations, airports, and makeshift shelters. That's $300 million that could have been spent on police overtime, police staffing, community safety programs, street lighting, and basic infrastructure to keep residents safe.
This is costly, illegal, and unconstitutional. I'm going to use every single tool that is at my disposal in order to keep the people of the city safe.
Under federal law, President Trump cannot unilaterally call up the National Guard unless he invokes things like the Insurrection Act.
City officials admit the migrant crisis has overwhelmed social services, schools, and healthcare systems. While Chicago struggles with budget constraints, every Chicago resident who needs these services is competing with people who actually shouldn't even be here.
Units 16 on City Vibe. We're getting a person shot. 5814 West Newport. 5814 West Newport. Coming over details for follow.
A police radio report of a shooting earlier this year. Part of what the White House calls the crime and despair gripping major U.S. cities like Chicago. The Trump administration points to a report from the Rochester Institute of Technology showing that of cities with populations greater than 1 million people, Chicago's homicide rate is higher than Dallas, Los Angeles, and New York City. something it says that has been consistent over the past 7 years.
The critics are absolutely right. Sanctuary city policies are diverting resources from Chicago residents who need help with crime, education, and basic city services. The math is simple. You can't spend $300 million on migrants and still claim you're prioritizing resident safety. Now, let me address the specific issue with Mayor Brandon Johnson's approach, because his basic ideology is preventing real solutions. Johnson says his administration focuses on addressing root causes of crime through community investment and social programs rather than traditional enforcement. It sounds nice, but people are dying while he experiments with feel-good policies that don't stop bullets. Mayor Brandon Johnson, with roots in activism and the Black Lives Matter movement, has been criticized for being soft on crime and opposing increased police presence. Here's the problem. His ideological approach is failing everyone in Chicago, including communities he claims to represent. Johnson opposes any federal military intervention, calling it unnecessary and potentially harmful to community relations. He'd rather let community residents suffer than accept help that might conflict with his BLM ideology. This is where political beliefs become dangerous to public safety. Now let's talk about the real solution that former police chiefs and aldermen are demanding: federal assistance to restore order and protect all residents.
How do police officers in Chicago feel about the potential of this?
Well, listen, I think officers are okay with it as long as it's done in a proper way. If President Trump is truly thinking of helping the city of Chicago as well as places across the country, that's fine. But you have to let the local jurisdictions direct the way in which the federal people are deployed across the different cities.
Former police chief superintendent says the violence has reached levels where National Guard deployment may be necessary to restore order and protect residents. These are law enforcement professionals who understand when local government fails this badly, extraordinary measures might become necessary. The former police chief argues Chicago's current approach isn't working, and federal assistance could help save lives in the most dangerous neighborhoods. This isn't just about politics. It's about using every available resource to protect innocent people from violence. Supporters of the National Guard deployment says it could provide additional security while local police focus on community policing and crime prevention. This is about supplementing overwhelmed local resources, not replacing them. Every resident deserves adequate protection.
When asked if the National Guard could also help,
when you have family that has left this earth because of gun violence, I'm leaning toward it.
Let me explain why this is a public safety emergency that affects every Chicago resident, regardless of their background.
The citizens of the city of Chicago want safety and security. We're paying lots of property taxes to live in this great city, and our mayor has funneled our money to an illegal international criminal organization for them to bring them here and take our money.
Residents across Chicago say they don't feel safe in their own neighborhood and want more police presence and better crime prevention measures. This crosses all demographic lines because crime affects everyone. Chicago's government statistical games don't change how people feel when they walk around to work or send their kids to school.
We're all paying for this. We're all paying. Each retailer that has you think you're getting 20% off? Well, that 20% off is already covering their lost inventory.
She fears what could happen if the offenders are not stopped.
If there's enough crime, big retailers, national retailers, they pull out of the shopping centers. They discontinue their lease. They leave vacancies, and as a result, you end up with communities that don't have the services or the goods.
Business owners say crime is hurting their operation and driving customers away, affecting Chicago's economic recovery and job creation. When people are afraid to go downtown, shop locally, or start a business, everyone suffers economically. This creates a cycle where fewer jobs and opportunities lead to more desperation and more crime. Crime statistics show that violence is spreading beyond traditional high crime areas, affecting residents throughout the city. This isn't just a problem for certain neighborhoods anymore, a citywide crisis that requires citywide solutions, including federal assistance if necessary. America, this story isn't about race or politics. It's about public safety that every Chicago resident deserves. Chicago's government is cooking the books on crime statistics while residents live in fear. They claim homicides are down 30% while still maintaining one of the highest murder rates in the country. The statistical manipulation is insulting to residents who know the reality that they're living through. Mayor Brandon Johnson, his focus on root cause and community programs sounds nice, but people are dying while he experiments with policies that don't stop immediate violence terrorizing neighborhoods. The resource misallocation is staggering. Over $300 million spent on migrants, while residents can't afford basic police protection. Every dollar diverted to people who shouldn't be here is a dollar not spent on protecting Chicago families who deserve safety in their own communities. National Guard deployment isn't about military occupation. It's about providing the additional security that overwhelmed local resources can't deliver. This affects every Chicago resident, regardless of race, income, or neighborhood. Crime doesn't discriminate, and neither should public safety solutions. Business owners, families, students, and workers all deserve to feel safe in their own city. Chicago's continuous lies about declining crime statistics are getting people killed. Residents know the truth, and they deserve leaders who acknowledge the reality and take real action instead of playing political games with their safety. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.